Daniel Carter checked his mailbox after work like he did every afternoon, but the important envelopes he had been expecting were gone. The mailbox itself wasn't damaged or forced open. Someone had simply taken the mail. Daniel had noticed missing mail several times during the previous month. At first, he assumed it was a delivery mistake. Then important envelopes started disappearing repeatedly. He realized there was a pattern. Daniel checked the security camera facing the mailbox area. The footage showed Linda Parker approaching the mailboxes. She looked around before opening a compartment that wasn't hers. Daniel watched the footage twice to make sure he understood what he was seeing. The footage showed Linda placing several envelopes inside her beige handbag. She then walked away toward her house. Daniel didn't confront her. Instead, he saved the footage and wrote down the date and time. Daniel went back outside and inspected his mailbox. There were no signs of forced entry. He checked the neighboring compartments and found nothing unusual. The evidence pointed towards someone with regular access to the mailbox area. Daniel created a folder containing the security footage and photographs. He also saved delivery notifications and dates. He didn't want rumors or accusations. He wanted a clear record of what had actually happened. The next morning, Linda appeared near Daniel's driveway. She acted as though nothing had happened. Daniel asked whether she had seen any misplaced mail. Linda immediately became defensive. Linda raised her voice and accused Daniel of harassing her. Daniel didn't argue. He simply told her he was handling the missing mail issue through the proper channels. Then he went back inside. That afternoon, Daniel received a notification that another important envelope had been delivered. He waited a few minutes before checking the mailbox. When he opened it, the envelope was gone again. This time, he knew exactly what to do. Daniel reviewed the camera footage again. Linda appeared near the mailbox shortly after the delivery. The footage clearly showed her removing mail. Daniel saved the original recording without editing it. Daniel reported the suspected mail theft through the appropriate postal channels. He provided the dates, delivery information, and security footage. He answered every question honestly. Then he waited. Linda continued living as if nothing had happened. She walked through the neighborhood with her usual confidence. She didn't know Daniel had already submitted the evidence, and she certainly didn't know investigators were reviewing it. Postal investigators reviewed Daniel's complaint and supporting evidence. They examined the delivery records and security footage. The repeated incidents were now part of an official investigation. They decided to visit the neighborhood. 2 government vehicles entered the HOA neighborhood. Residents immediately noticed them. The investigators parked near Linda's house. Daniel watched quietly from across the street. Linda opened her front door, expecting an ordinary afternoon. Instead, 2 postal investigators were standing on her porch. They identified themselves professionally. Linda's confident expression disappeared. The investigators explained why they were there. They asked Linda about several missing pieces of mail. Linda immediately claimed she knew nothing about them. The investigators calmly asked her to explain the footage. One investigator showed Linda the security footage. The video clearly showed her near the mailbox. Linda stared at the screen without speaking. Her earlier confidence was gone. Daniel didn't approach the investigators. He didn't yell at Linda. He simply stayed on his own property and let the official process continue. That decision kept the situation calm. The investigators asked Linda whether she had any mail belonging to Daniel. After a tense conversation, several envelopes were recovered. Daniel's name was clearly visible on the pieces of mail. The evidence now connected the missing deliveries to her possession. News of the investigation spread quickly through the HOA. The board called an emergency meeting. Several residents demanded answers about what had happened. Linda didn't attend. The HOA board reviewed its own mailbox-related complaints. They discovered Daniel had reported missing mail more than once. Several complaints had never been properly addressed. The board realized the problem had been ignored for too long. Homeowners asked why the HOA hadn't acted sooner. Some residents said they had also experienced missing deliveries. The board promised to improve mailbox area security. The neighborhood wanted answers. Postal investigators continued reviewing the evidence. They compared delivery records with the security footage. Every date and time was carefully documented. Daniel cooperated fully and let the investigators handle the process. Linda had originally claimed she had never touched Daniel's mail, but the records and footage told a different story. The investigators had multiple pieces of evidence. Her explanation could no longer account for everything. The HOA introduced new mailbox area security policies. Residents were reminded to collect only their own mail. Security cameras were positioned to protect the mailbox area. The board also established a clear process for reporting missing deliveries. Some of Daniel's missing envelopes were returned to him through the official process. He carefully checked each one. After weeks of uncertainty, his mailbox was finally working the way it should. He felt relieved rather than angry. Linda could no longer pretend nothing had happened. The Postal investigation had created an official record. Any further action would be handled through the appropriate authorities. Daniel stayed completely out of the confrontation. The story became a warning throughout the community. Residents started taking missing mail reports seriously. The HOA learned that a neighborhood dispute could quickly become an official matter, and Daniel's careful documentation had made all the difference. Weeks later, Daniel checked his mailbox again. Everything he expected was there. No missing envelopes, no mysterious gaps. Daniel never needed revenge. He simply documented what happened and reported it through the proper channels. The evidence spoke for itself, and the neighborhood changed because of it. Sometimes the smartest move is letting the right authorities do their job. If you enjoyed this HOA story, hit like thumbs up, subscribe bell for more unbelievable HOA stories. In the comments you're watching from,